This podcast is intended for mature audiences and could be triggering to some. Please use discretion when listening. Hello, I'm Sonali and you're listening to Dancing in the Dark. I was born in the most vibrant country of the Eastern world, a classic combination of nature, climate, languages and cultures. The community I belong to comes from a long lineage of business owners who have been generating employment through family businesses for generations. Giving very little emphasis on education, this is a male-dominated society where the main goal of a family is to get their daughters married as soon as they come of age. One could often hear people say, "You topped your class in academics, that's fantastic, but you're a little too fat to be a bride. You excel in extracurricular activities, that's nice, but you're a little too black to be taken as a wife. You know so many forms of dances, perfect, just learn how to cook like a perfect daughter-in-law and your life is all settled. Don't take part in college competitions, stop laughing like men, close your mouth, walk straight, cross your leg, speak softly, don't argue, and the list never ends." 18-year-old me still didn't know. There would never be an audience for my opinions and never a place for my feelings. No matter what I achieve, I would never be enough for them. Not for the people yesterday, not for the society today, and definitely not for my husband in the future that was coming. According to national statistics, over 1 in 4 women and 1 in 6 men in the world experience domestic abuse. The mental scars from the cruelty of intimate partner can be even deeper and permanent than that of the physical slaps and punches. This is a podcast where I'll take you to the journey of my survival and through my lenses reflect how I rebuilt my life from the scratch again and again and again. With my story, we will examine different forms of abuses and will strengthen each other to set free from this societal evil. Let's make this world cruelty-free together and help victims to be strong survivors. My story starts in my hometown where I grew up in an affluent family of a conservative society. Study and career for a woman was not predominantly defined, but silently all girls were just prepared for their weddings. That was challenging for my parents because I was a little too fat in my physique. For as long as I can remember, I was always on restricted diets and spent hours in the gym. Also, I was different. I wanted to study. Maybe not build a career, but wanted to achieve big things in life. I was a scholar throughout, always perfect grades. In fact, I'm still the only person, not even a girl, a person in my entire hierarchy of family to hold a double master's degree, that too with a gold medal. I was also well trained in household chores. I could cook, clean and take care of my family. But I also had a childlike innocence, the firstborn, pampered, loved and always full of life. I was trained in classical dancing. I could sing. I loved writing poems and stories. I anchored events. I directed plays and competed in debates. But I also did something that changed my life. I dared to dream. All my qualities weighed down, literally under my weight. I was forced to believe that all my accomplishments would only matter if I was able to be a perfect bride. The priority of getting a suitable groom is so dense in my culture that even my educational qualifications were reduced to just bachelor's degree in my biodata. Why? Who will want to marry their son to such an overqualified girl? The term used only for job seekers. In a society where girls were married at 21 years of age, I was 25, considered too old to find a groom. I was overeducated, overweight and at the same time working. A strict no-no in my culture. After months of persuasion, when no suitable family agreed to marry a girl like me, I was asked to leave my dream job and come back home. No discussion, no hearing, not even asking what I want. Just an order to return home was declared. The only explanation given was, "What will I do working? Ultimately, I will have to marry and leave the job. It's better to increase my chances of getting a perfect groom when I will be home all the time." This will be the first hard blow I will ever receive, which will later make me realize that the fundamentals on which most girls are raised is structurally so misleading. If families themselves don't trust their child's capabilities, appreciate their talent, and encourage them irrespective of their gender, how do we expect the families in which they are married to do so? Others will always take them for granted. Funny enough, we don't even realize this injustice because we get so used to accepting the glorification of irrelevant aspects of a perfect daughter-in-law that we start seeking our value through them rather than our actual worth. I was forced to leave the job I wanted to do, I was qualified to do, and for which I had worked so hard, just in a blink of a second, so that I can find a groom, get married, raise a family, because that's the only definition of being settled. In my case, there could be no further delay. I'm aging, and the number of men older than me seeking brides are just a handful in my community. I have a younger sister, and marrying late simply means her marriage would be delayed too. That was the first of the many major sacrifices I had to do. And oh boy, what price I paid for the same. Though I was brought up in a conservative setup, I never knew what assault was. Partly because I had only seen happy people around, and partly because I didn't know the exact definition of abuse. A well-defined system existed in my community. Male were supposed to take care of the finances, take all the major decisions, and women hold the fort for the household chores. If 10 years ago someone told me, apart from other forms, there's something also called financial abuse, I would have just looked so confused. And then sadly life happened, making me a victim of multiple abuses and assaults, giving me the definitions of all. Now back home I'm patiently watching being rejected by many men. Some because I was too educated, for some I was a couple of years older than them, for some the dowry money offered was too less, and a lot because I was overweight by their own beauty standards. Nothing else mattered to them. Finally, as destiny had, my marriage was arranged to a family agreeing to take me as a daughter-in-law. The only people who were okay with my education gave me permission to continue working after marriage and agreed to the amount my parents can afford paying as dowry. It's good to mention here that in my community, where 95% of men have their own businesses, we would hardly find boys with any education after school. And here, I had a rare prospective groom who holds an MBA degree, has a job, not a business, and most importantly, was ready to marry me. Me, the fat girl. After introduction for 10 minutes in an arranged setup, our nuptials were finalized. And yes, that's how marriages were fixed with families' consents. And so it was not very unusual or unheard in our society. For the next 60 days till my wedding, I had limited interactions with a man who was about to be my husband for life. We might have met just twice in the presence of our families, and the little chats we had were just about wedding preparations. He was a branch manager of a very well-known bank, called himself shy and introverted, and remained busy all the time with an excuse of his demanding work. My family assumed things would change after marriage, as some people are not as quick to open as others. However, I was still very happy, very excited to start my new life. Since childhood, all my decisions were marked by an event: marriage. Get married and you can travel wherever you want. Wear whatever you wish to, but only after marriage. Oh yes, you can cut your hair short, but do it with your husband's permission. You want to go to work? Ask your in-laws after marriage, don't bother us. But till then you need to be a poised, perfect and a goody-goody girl in all standards. In our culture, the husband becomes the epitome and the center of our world. And because we know we are tied forever, falling in love becomes natural, as he is the prince we have been taught to wait our entire life. One might argue, how can a person be so vulnerable and still be happy about it? It's important to understand that when you are raised in an entire institution with similar practices, one does not know anything better. Arranged marriages is a practice followed by many communities worldwide. And when you are forever trained on how to lead a married life, you don't know other ways to question it. And how can something go wrong? All my families for generations have been married like this and happily. I come from a very happy space as far as marriages are concerned. I have only seen happy, romantic, loyal, and secured ones. My parents, my aunts, relatives, friends, even grandparents. Never in my dream I would have imagined what was coming for me, rest alone how to deal with it. I was married to him in a grand ceremony and overnight sent to a different unknown city I had never visited in life. I was expected to place all my trust in this unknown person, agree with his demands, and do what he instructed, as he will be the keeper of me for life. So here I was, all decked up, waiting for my husband on the very first night, after 3 days of extravagant celebrations, all paid by my father, traveling 400 kilometers between cities, waiting for the man of my dreams, who came on a white horse and was going to sweep me off my feet, just like I had always imagined. That night, he did come to the room, but not alone. He brought with him years of my miseries and dreadful nights that will take decades to heal. Next morning, I woke up with shooting pain in every part of my body. It was 6 a.m., and in the distance I could hear my mother-in-law complaining about something. This house was small and the walls were thin for the voices to echo, and yet in the future my screams will be audible to none. Still exhausted, I decked up like a new bride, shy and glowing, ready to start my new life. 30-odd large boxes gifted by my parents were piled over one another, filling the entire house. I could see boxes and boxes lying unboxed in the living area and everybody taking their share of the dowry and busy examining the contents of the others. Everybody had their own opinions. One didn't like the bed sheets, for one the crockery was too fancy, one didn't like the style of my dresses, and one was unhappy with their own gift. However, the loudest opinion was of my mother-in-law. But as soon as I came out, she leapt and asked me to give all the jewelry I bought. She emphasized the jewelry was now the family's property and it was her responsibility to keep them safe. She kept all my jewelry given by my parents in her bank's locker under her custody, and I would hardly see them ever again in my short-lived marriage. I was still sipping on my hot tea when my mother-in-law came with a suitcase full of my ex-husband's soiled clothes, asking me to wash them. I inquired about the washing machine. She showed her disapproval and wanted me to wash them by hand. Unable to understand, I still obliged and washed 8 pairs of jeans and so many shirts, all he used for marriage festivities. Not even 24 hours to the wedding, miles away from my family, I felt so lonely. Tears rolled down looking at my henna-stained hands, and my stomach churned. My mother never even let me near water for days so that the henna lasted long. And here I am, washing so many clothes for the very first time in my life, despite having a washing machine in the house just feet away. But that's a kind of adjustment they say happen after marriage. However, it should get better with time. I thought I could always talk to my husband and he would understand. And in the evening, I casually mentioned how my back was screaming in pain and referred to the small cuts in my hands. Showing his disapproval of me questioning his mother's wishes, bang, came a slap right across my left cheek. The first in my life, the first in front of my in-laws and my sister-in-law and her husband and her kid. I was not sure whether I was more heartbroken or embarrassed. I felt as if I was dreaming and everything felt so surreal around me. I couldn't say a word and I hid myself in the washroom. And I don't even remember after how long I came out that night. My life changed overnight and I was stunned in disbelief, denying what had suddenly happened to me. But he slept peacefully after that. No explanation, no apology, no remorse. Not even an acknowledgement of what has happened. Not even a knock on the bathroom door to see if I'm okay by anyone in the family. Next morning he woke up as if nothing had happened and the whole family went busy with their chores. My mother-in-law made a casual remark that men are generally hot-tempered. I need to adjust as per his moods and temperaments. Unlearn all the things my parents taught as they simply spoiled me, and I need to be a good daughter-in-law now. Complaining about her to my husband will do no good to me. I was standing there surprised, confused, and disappointed, not realizing it would be the first step towards them snatching away my right to even have an opinion. Just a couple of days into marriage, we went to a small town nearby to spend 2 days of quality, or so I thought it was. He promised a foreign tour before marriage for the honeymoon. He even took my passport citing visa purposes for an undisclosed surprise location. And there I was, in a shabby room of the guest house of his bank. It was a small room with fractured plumbing, water leaking, paint peeling off the walls, no amenities, the wood of the bed frame chipping, and no window to a sight. As soon as I sat, the coil of the old mattress found its way and pinched me. He laughed loudly. "See what your weight has done to the bed." In the hot summer, there was no air condition, and the fan made strange noises. "It's so smelly. Do we really need to stay here? Can we not see another accommodation nearby?" I did raise a concern, for all these was making me uncomfortable. His eyes rolled, and he told me he was tired of all the driving. He can't handle my tantrums at the moment and wanted some fresh air. So he was going out and will be back soon. "Take me along," I suggested, but he wanted me time on our short 2 days honeymoon, something he would be taking a lot in the future. I recall him saying, "I'm going to lock the door from outside so that you are safe inside. As you see, there are so many male workers around the guest houses." I protested this time. I put my foot down as I wasn't expecting all these. One of the reasons arranged marriages are popular, it's because we generally know the kind of family and the social structure we are going to have after marriage. I was already upset seeing where he has brought me after making false promises, and now he wants to lock a claustrophobic person? I firmly said, "You dare do that. Why will you lock the room? I'm claustrophobic, you know that. Have you lost your mind?" And even before I could finish my sentence, bang, came another blow to my face, and he pushed me to the bed. I could not understand anything. I just heard him shutting the door and locking me out of the room. I tried to remain calm, but 1, 2, 3, and in only 3 seconds I started to panic. My claustrophobic fear kicked in. I started panting, sweating, trying to unlock the door. To my surprise, not a single drop of water was available in this dark room. Unlike the West, back home, it's not safe to drink tap water from our washrooms. I tried calling him multiple times, but each time his cell was on another call. Tired, I sat there crying, and might have cried for hours and went to sleep. I don't remember when he came back that night, but my morning wasn't pretty for sure. I have been awake since 3 in the morning and was just wondering what was happening to my life. This isn't making any sense. This is not what I signed up for. And I made up my mind to confront his behavior. Little did I know that the man snoring next to me was a world-class manipulator, who was not only a psychopath but also a sociopath whose action will destroy years of my life. Next morning he woke up as if nothing has happened. I was way determined this time. I confronted him. I told him this is not done. How dare he do what he did last night? We need to talk. And I can still hear his sigh in my ear saying, "You are your daddy's spoiled princess. He has given your responsibility to me, and now it's my duty to tame you. I'm gonna correct you, like I correct my employees. You know how much more I have seen the world than you? You need to listen to me, and then we're gonna have a perfect life. But if you continue to throw such tantrums, how will we ever be happy? And for whom am I doing all this? For us, right? I have so much responsibilities, and you have to help me stay happy. But your actions are disturbing me." And after a long lecture, he left me puzzled. 20 minutes back, I was super determined to confront the wrong he did to me. And now, I was sitting there blaming myself as if it was all my fault. I made him to be this man. He was never like this. It's all me and my family's pampering. It should be me who should be guilty of this, not him. I should go and say sorry. It's all my fault. Years later, only after seeking help from 5 different mental health support workers, I was convinced this was not just with me, but this is a pattern a lot of abusers use. Self-victimization, playing the victim card, and making the victims feel as if they are the abusers. He did not speak to me in protest for 5 hours, and finally when I said sorry before lunch, he agreed to forgive me as if he was doing me a favor. After lunch, when I should be fantasizing about the romantic honeymoon I dreamt of, I saw him bringing my laptop and asking me to be well versed with IELTS. I had no idea what he was talking about, but he was well prepared. He explained in order to keep me happy, it's important for him to be happy. And he don't think it's possible in that country when he can have a better life abroad. As a wife, I should be his support system. And as he is planning to give this English proficiency test, I should be also doing the same just for the support. I was taken aback and quite surprised. He never told me or my family for the 2 months we were engaged that he plans to settle abroad. He convinced me that it was just an aspiration for him and nothing is concrete for discussion. But I should help him clear the exam as my grasp of English was better than his. Okay, he praised me for something at least. I got my share of happiness in that small validation. The next day too was spent learning about IELTS structure and we returned home. It was sad for me to see how the honeymoon was spent, but I was sure that with time things would be different when we would start knowing each other better. Also, he was smiling after 2 dreadful days, and that was all that mattered then. For one, I was madly in love, and also for my own peace of mind. I now regret being raised to a mindset that when the man of the house is happy, that's all that matters. Everyone is so busy preparing you to be a perfect bride that no one teaches you how to deal with anxiousness and nervousness that comes with arranged marriage. You leave everything you love since childhood behind and graciously accepts the way your husband's family conducts and live their lives. You're expected to dissolve in this unknown family's culture like salt in water in a short span of time. Break all maiden ties as this new world is your everything now. No one talks about the loneliness that comes with it, and everyone just wants to see you excel in everything you do as per them. I was surprised every single day for the next few weeks. He was a government employee, so I enjoyed a few privileges. In a blink of seconds, even without my consent, all my photo IDs were changed from my maiden name to my married name, attaching his name and family name to my first name. It felt as if I lost my own identity. But that was a time when these things were romanticized. He then added his mother's name to my salary account, as she was the elder of the house and she takes care of all the finances. Even his salary used to come in her account. Remember, no one in my family had a salaried job, so I didn't even knew that this was wrong, for I was always financially secured as a person. That is how I was brought up, with the idea that your dad takes care of all your finances and after marriage your husband makes all the financial decisions. There's no career goal for us. Whatever you earn, if at all, is just a side hustle. Even when I was working before marriage, my dad never took a single dime of my salary. So I was very sure that this is how his family operates. I conveniently assumed she would give me all my jewelry whenever I asked. I would get the money for whatever I would need. It did not seem a big deal for me then. Only little did I know, a long run of financial abuse was about to begin. He would always manipulate me saying, I'm still a kid, and being 3 years older to me, being a manager, and most importantly a man, it gives him an edge. To my surprise, the house helps were let go as they were cost-cutting, and I was doing all the brooming, cleaning, washing, cooking, and managing office as well. Even what I ate was given to me by my mother-in-law so that she knows how much is consumed. This is what all daughter-in-laws do. You're not doing anything unusual, my father-in-law remarked one day. But why are we doing such cost cuttings when we can afford house helps? I was married to an affluent family. My husband works a decent job. I have a good salary. My father-in-law has his own cloth business and my mother-in-law took tuitions. Then why is everyone talking so much about the financial crisis? Turns out that there were lies that were told for us to get married. The family business that was claimed to my parents were all false. There was no business that my father-in-law did. He just worked in a rented setup of one of his acquaintances. My mother-in-law wasn't a coaching teacher. Just 2 neighbor kids came and played in the evening. And my ex-husband, who's said to have a fat check coming every month, was paid not even 1/4 of what he claimed at the time of the marriage. That was the first scam I discovered. And today I know how important it is for us to do verification of the documents. My parents later defended, since no one in the family had been married to a person with a job, and asking to show the actual pay slips is not a norm that was usually followed. They didn't even had any idea that people can lie to this extent, as the whole business community runs on trust. I was still processing everything, trying to accept and adjust to my new destiny. And then that happened. One night, after 2 months of marriage, he screamed. He screamed someone's name in his sleep. Unfortunately, this is just the start of my story. Come back to know the next chapter. Dancing in the Dark is written, recorded, edited, and produced by me, Sonali, in an attempt to empower and support victims of gender-based violence, domestic abuse, and intimate partner assaults. Thank you.